So what do you do when you don't know what to do? I'm sure all of you have been in that place at one time or another, perhaps right now as we go through this journey together as a community. What to do when you feel like the rug has been pulled out from under you. When you feel like the ground underneath you is not solid, it is not steady, and you're falling over and you're going to hit the wall, you're going to hit the floor, something's going to happen and you don't know what to do. For those of you who are here for the first time today, you may be wondering why I'm saying all that. You've perhaps figured it out already, but just so that we're all on the same page. A month ago yesterday, my beloved husband of 30 years, almost, not quite, but we almost made it 30, and one of our staff ministers here and a very important person in our community passed away. He made his transition on May 23rd after about a month of knowing that that was the direction his body was going. And of course, I feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath me. And what do you do? What do you do? I've asked myself that question a lot. And it certainly was asked of me. I asked it of myself when I heard the voice that said, it's time to go back to church. It's time to go back. I'm like, what? No. No. I don't know. No. Because I don't know what to do. And the voice said to me, it's time for you to go back. It's good for you. It's good for the congregation. It will be all right. You will be all right. I heard those words. And then I argued some more, but I don't even know what I would talk about. Because here's the deal. May we speak freely? May I speak frankly? Because, by the way, you are on this journey with me, my friends. I got no answers today. I just got some experiences and some thoughts, but I am in the question big time right now. But what went through my head was, so here's the deal. I don't feel particularly inspiring. I don't feel particularly inspired. I'm not positive and upbeat. I really don't give a rip about dreams right now. And, pardon me for saying it that way, and I'm not really in a good place to help anyone else in their own grief because I'm too busy with my own, and I'm a little ticked off at God. So let's put all those together and like, why would I possibly go back and try to preach? That makes no sense whatsoever. Why would I come back and, put all that on a community of beautiful people whose hearts are hurting? I know that. And yet, the voice said, it's time to go back. You need it. It'll be good for you. They need it. It'll be good for them. It'll be all right. You will be all right. And so I decided to take my own wisdom, which I offer all the time, but I don't always take, right? I offer it to you all the time, which is listen to the inner voice. The inner voice will never steer us wrong. I've said that a million times, and I believe it to my core. And so I had to quit fighting and resisting and say, June 24th, that's the day, right? Today is the 24th, is the day for me to come back. But I don't know what to do. Well, the first thing you can do is stop saying you don't know what to do. So note to self, note to you. When you stop saying, I don't know what to do, you give an opening, even a tiny opening, for the clarity that is wanting to emerge to come forth. And it may come out of you, it may come from someone else. And it came from several other people that helped me. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Penny. You both helped me with, what am I going to talk about today? So when I quit saying I don't know what to do, the clarity came. So that's not even part of the lesson, but there's a lesson right there. That one was free, right? That was a freebie, an extra. So I thought of three things. Three things came to my mind and to my heart that we could talk about this morning. And as I already said, I am in the middle of this. I'm not at the end. So you're not seeing the finished version. You're seeing the in the middle, in the question, in the pain piece. But we're family, right? We're community. So I want us to do this together. So is that okay if we do this journey together? Okay, good. So the first idea that I want to share with you actually was inspired. I was going to say it was inspired by my beloved. Well, everything was inspired by my beloved Lonnie, but particularly inspired by this. Now, for those of you who know Lonnie, You know that he could put a suit on and a tie, well, a tie. He didn't wear a suit very often, but a tie and long sleeve shirt and dress pants, and he would look amazing. You got to see that every Sunday, him looking amazing. Well, he also looked amazing in what would be his, we're going to call it his favorite outfit, which was certainly not a tie and a long sleeve shirt and dress slacks and socks and shoes. Not his favorite thing. His favorite attire was no shoes, his little short shorts, which he loved. He did not like big baggy shorts. He liked his little short shorts. I think it's because he had really good legs and he didn't mind showing them off. I didn't mind him showing them off. I've heard from lots of you, of both genders, who didn't mind that he showed them off. And a t-shirt. A t-shirt from some exotic place we'd been diving or some other amazing adventure because we had a life filled with incredibly amazing adventures. And the shirt that inspired the first point I want to make this morning is this one, which came from the Cayman Islands. We visited the Cayman Islands in 2006 when diving in the Cayman Islands. And what inspired me was what's on the back. And if you're not able to see it, I will share with you but it does say, test your faith. And the picture, which is a little bit faded at this point and was dark to begin with, if you may not be able to see it, is a diver right there in the midst of a whole bunch of sharks. Now, when Lonnie and I have been diving, and I was looking through my dive log with our dive friends, and we logged 86 dives together over the course of a bunch of years. 86 dives, that's a lot of dives. And in more than one of those, we were doing this very thing. We were diving in the middle of sharks. I know that's kind of crazy, but we did. And it was scary, but of course I will tell you that the last 2 months that I have walked and we have walked together were a heck of a lot scarier than that. And I'm not a believer in the idea, the concept that God tests us. I don't buy that. I don't think that's true. I don't think God tests us. I do think we have opportunities to grow and expand all the time. And what we do with them is what matters. But I don't think we're offered tests. But I did love the t-shirt, test your faith. And what I know is that for many of us in this room, our faith has been tested through this experience. I know many, if not all of you, were praying for Lonnie's body to heal, for his heart, his physical heart to heal. I was too. And that it didn't. And that his body was complete here. His soul was complete and his body gave out. Well, what's up with that? We prayed. The answer didn't come. My faith is tested. I get it. I get it. I get it. Mine is tested as well. So what do we know? What do we know? Lonnie and I lived a life of faith. We lived a life in faith, a faith of believing in God, believing in the good, believing that the good is here even when we cannot see it, believing that everything unfolds for the highest and best, believing in love, believing in each other, believing in this community. We lived that life of faith. And that's been tested a bit, at least the one in there, that everything unfolds for the highest good. But I truly, truly, truly do believe that, and so did he. So did he. So does he. Now, I gave him a mission. I said, when you get over there, wherever there is exactly, when you're over there, and you have this big picture, you have the big view of things, and you understand why this had to happen now, because I don't get it, and I sure as heck don't like it, and you understand why, I want you to figure out a way to get back here and tell me. Well, that has not happened yet. So I'm still in the question. You know what? We like to think that we're in control and that we will always get the outcome that we desire. It doesn't, my friends, it doesn't always work that way. We don't always get the outcome that we have outlined. We don't always get that. And with no disrespect to Ernest Holmes, who spoke many, many times in the textbook about how there's not a mystery once you understand the working of the law. He said that a lot in the textbook. But I think if we were to sit down with Ernest today, he would absolutely agree that there actually is a mystery. We don't get to figure this all out here. There are some things we just don't understand. And we may never, and we might. But right now, I am living in the mystery. And I am having faith that things do unfold for the highest good. That they in fact do. There's a Proverbs that I absolutely love. It's Proverbs 3:5, and it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and rely not on your own wisdom." Or there's another translation of that that says, "Lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, God, and he shall direct your paths." And that happens even if you're a little bit ticked off at God. God doesn't care that you're mad at her. She doesn't care that. So I like this idea about faith. There was an auctioneer once who was auctioning off basically a bunch of junk. But he auctioned off and sold all this junk because he said to the people, he said, "Folks, these items are a lot like faith. You need to get them when you don't need them, so you have them when you do." And that's the walk of faith that I've walked for 30 years. And it is sustaining me, even though I don't get it, and even though I don't like it. And even though what has happened is not what I would have picked, and not what any of us would have picked, I stand, and I invite you to stand in faith that there is an unfolding for the highest good. I've received an infinite number of emails and texts and calls and love and cards, and thank you all so much for that. I'm sure I owe at least a dozen of you or more a thank you that I haven't said specifically yet, so please consider this a thank you. But one was an email I got from one of our congregants who has since moved out of town. But he said, "I was just sitting here today, I learned of Lonnie's passing, and I just happened to turn to a Greg Braden book." Oh. Good job, Dave. Good job. Good job. Good job. Secrets of the Lost Modes of Prayer, which is an amazing book. I've read it. It's amazing. But I had forgotten this Rumi quote that Dr. Robert emailed me. And he said this email, or this Rumi quote made me pause, and it is, "If you put your soul against this ore with me, the power that made the universe will enter your sinew from a source not outside your limbs, but from a holy realm that lives within us." If you put your soul against the ore with me, the power that made the universe will enter your sinew from a source not outside your limbs, but from a holy realm that lives in us. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And I'm inviting all of us to do that more and more and more. The second idea that came to me when I got out of my own way by saying I don't know what to talk about was the idea of living in this present moment. When it became very obvious to Lonnie and me in April that a heart that was already damaged was taking a downward turn. And I know many people were praying for a miracle for him. I just want to say that for 5 years we had a miracle. 5 years ago, he had major heart surgery, and his heart was very damaged. He didn't talk about that. He didn't live like his heart was damaged, but it was significantly diminished. And in mid-April, that significantly diminished heart took another downward turn, and it didn't have very far to go. So we knew that. And I will tell you, I was bereft because I didn't want him to go. And I didn't want him to see me be bereft, so I would go hide and cry. And I would cry in the shower. But I was crying because my mind was going to the future. My mind was going to the future without him. It was going to the phone calls I had to make to tell people he'd transitioned. It was going to a memorial service. It was going to me standing up here and not looking out and seeing him sitting right there. Thank you, Sherry, for holding space for Lottie, because that was his seat. It was me and my life alone, except with little Curly, of course. Little Curly is there, my sweet dog. But my mind was going to the future, and it was so painful. I couldn't even breathe. And one day I was in the shower not breathing and thought, wait a minute. Why am I doing this? He's still here. He's not gone yet. I am going to have to live that reality, but I don't have to live it today because he's still here. Michele, get yourself back to the present moment and be present for everything this moment has to offer. And it offered some sweet, gorgeous moments that he and I had together. Beautiful time of deepening a relationship I didn't think could get any deeper, of sweetening a relationship I didn't think could get any sweeter. It did. And so I brought myself back. I kept bringing myself back. Lesson for us all, bring ourselves to the present moment. And here's the thing that actually surprised me, and I want to offer this to you, is that when I did finally have to make those phone calls to say he'd passed, I actually did have to plan and be at a memorial service, celebration of life for him. I am at home alone with a little dog. I'm here today not seeing him sit there. While it's not fun, and it hurts like heck, absolutely yes, it is not as devastatingly bad as I thought it would be. My imagination of it was worse than the reality of it. So just breathe that idea in. That our imagination, our awfulizing that we can do about whatever is going on in our lives, at least for me in a pretty big deal, it was worse than what the reality is. And I'm not diminishing how bad the reality is, just the awfulizing was worse. So what do we do in the present moment when we don't know what to do? When the present moment is not what we want? Well, these are the things I'm doing. Surrounding myself with love. Accepting prayers. They have helped me immensely. You have no idea how much your prayers have helped me. And support. Asking for help when I need it. Doing what works for me when it works and not when it doesn't. Asking to be with people when I want to be, saying no when I don't, canceling plans if I need to, and curling up in a ball and crying when that is what needs to happen. Those are all in the moment experiences that are helping me traverse these waters that I've never traversed before. Living in the moment. Those are some things to do when you don't know what to do. The last one that I want to share with you this morning, I'm going to talk more about next week, but I want to just dip our toe into it today. And it's about getting really on purpose. I didn't say this in first service, but I'm called to say it here, that Lonnie really didn't know if he had a purpose. Isn't that crazy? Because his purpose was so big and obvious, but he didn't really know. And when all these beautiful accolades and love started coming to him in his last month of his life, and people telling him how he made a difference in their lives, specific reasons, and when you said this, and when you did this, and this changed me, I said to him, honey, are you finally taking this in? Do you see who you are and what you've done in the world? And he was so humble. He's like, well, yeah, maybe. Maybe. Please, you've lived your purpose all this time, and I'm so glad you're kind of seeing it now, but let's not wait to see that we have a purpose and to live it. 5 days after he passed, it was Memorial Day, and I didn't want to be alone, and so I called a friend, and I said, let's go to the movies. I said, I want you to pick. I don't want to make any decisions. You pick. And here's my criteria. Nothing scary, creepy, no. Nothing violent, can't do that. And please, no romantic tragedies. Not in a place to watch a romantic tragedy. She's like, okay, I got it. I'll get us a movie. And then she texts me or emails me and says, okay, I figured it out. We're going to go see, and I've got tickets already. We're going to go see RBG. Well, that was not my response at first. Now, for those of you who don't know what RBG is, it's a documentary about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court, first woman Supreme Court justice, and still a Supreme Court justice. It is an amazing movie. I will see it again and again. It is required viewing, I think, for any conscious being. But I have to tell you, honestly, when I knew we were going into a documentary, I'm like, really? Seriously? A documentary? I want to escape. You don't escape in documentaries. You're informed, you're educated, you're enlightened, you get angry because there's some injustice happening that they're writing about. Like, oh, for crying out loud. But the tickets are purchased. I'm sure there's a reason that you need to go see this movie, Michelle. And there was, because it's an amazing movie. But several times during it, I nudged my friend and I said, I told you not to bring me to a romantic tragedy, because it was. It was, yes, you've seen, it's gorgeous. The love affair, the love story between Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her husband of over 50 years, I think, Marty, was Lonnie's and my story. I'm not a Supreme Court justice, but I'm in the limelight. She's in the limelight. Husband happy to stay behind, kind of as the support. It's exactly what her husband was like. He was hysterically funny. Lonnie, hysterically funny. He was the cook and the keeper of the house. One of her children even said on camera she wasn't allowed in the kitchen. My husband said to me more than once, she's not allowed in the kitchen. Don't let her go in the kitchen. She'll hurt herself. And I often did. I would have a knife and there would be blood. There would be blood. And he's passed away. So why do I tell you this? I'm talking about purpose. Because he's passed away. And I watched this little woman. She's like this tall and this big, a powerhouse, living her purpose without her beloved. And I thought, if she can do it, I can do it. So thank you, friend who's sitting out here in the congregation, for dragging me to a dang documentary. Because it was perfect. It was perfect. And I offer you that idea that we're going to talk more about purpose next week. Get yourself on purpose. Live your purpose. You're here to do that. And I am, if that wasn't enough to convince me that I'm supposed to be here living on purpose, let me leave you with a final personal story. My sister and I drove to Sedona last Sunday. Actually, you were here having church. We were doing church up in the Red Rocks. And yeah, it's a good place to do church, isn't it, the Red Rocks? And driving home on the I-17 at a place where there's 2 lanes heading south, I'm driving my little keyword, little car, little sports car, behind a truck pulling a boat. It's not a big boat, but it's a boat. And I'm really glad that I took driver's ed and paid attention to it. And then, when I got a ticket a couple years ago, I took it again and listened. Listen to what I'm supposed to do. And you're supposed to stay, kind of far away from the car in front of you, especially when you're traveling at 80 miles an hour. Keep some 8 lengths of the car is actually what you're supposed to. I'm not sure I was that far away, but nonetheless, I was pretty far. Thank you, God, for that. Thank you, Lonnie, for that. Because all of a sudden, this boat that is in front of us, the nose of it is up in the air. It does a backward somersault, and it is now a missile heading back to my car. Now, obviously, I'm okay, so breathe. I'm fine. But it was heading to our car. And it would have, sheared the top of it off. And my sister, when we were realizing we were okay, my sister said to me, wow, I just had a moment thinking we were going to be seeing Lonnie sooner than we expected. Yeah. I swerved to the right lane. Thank you. There was nobody there. The guy in front of me slams on his brakes. I don't rear end him, but I do slam on mine. The person who was behind me, but far enough away that I could get in, slammed on his or her brakes. Nobody hit anybody in my lane. And I'm not watching the boat now. I'm just making sure that the car is straight and safe. My sister, however, is watching the boat, and she sees it coming towards us. It is heading towards us. And she said it hits the ground, takes a hop, and goes in the opposite direction onto the shoulder of that left lane. Nobody got hit by that boat. Nobody ran into that boat. There was no accident that occurred. I'm watching it in my rearview mirror. I'm listening. There is nothing. And I checked the news the next day just to see if something happened that I didn't see or hear, and there was no mention of it. There would have been mention of a pileup on the I-17 had one person hit that boat, because it would have been a massive, massive accident. It wasn't. But it was a message. For me, I don't know about anybody else who was driving, but I said to my sister once we were breathing and realizing we were okay and could speak, and both of us said, did that really happen? Yes, it really did. If we weren't sure that we were here for a reason and that we need to still be here for a reason, that was just confirmation that we are. I love Thomas Troward's statement where he said, the fact that we are here says that our souls are in need of an organ. In other words, a vehicle. The fact that we are here says our souls are in need of a vehicle. So I know that my soul is in need of a vehicle because I'm still here. And guess what? We all are. We all are. So let us all get on purpose and live that purpose. Talk more about that next week. I want to leave you this morning with a message. It's not from Lonnie because he's been playing with me, and actually he's been playing with us this morning. You don't know it, but he has been. Cindy Green, our beautiful technician back there doing PowerPoint, has done PowerPoint for years. She knows exactly how to run this PowerPoint. She was not touching any buttons this morning when our PowerPoint, it happened in first service too, went a little wacky. She didn't touch a thing. Thank you, Lonnie, for messing with our PowerPoint. So he's here, but he hasn't given me a message yet about, what it's all about and why he had to leave, but I did run across a note from the universe from Mike Dooley that could be his message to us, and I want to leave you with this message. And then I'm going to invite up Reverend Sherry McCreary, who has held space for us over these last 8 weeks in such a profound way and has loved us and given incredible messages over the last 8 weeks. I'm going to invite her up to offer our closing prayer. But let me give you this note from the universe, and I think Lonnie would tell us these things as well. It's entitled, "The Top 10 Things Dead People Want to Tell Living People." First of all, they're not dead. The second thing is they're sorry for any pain they caused. I actually don't think Lonnie has to say that to anybody, but just in case. Number 3, there's no such thing as a devil or hell. Get over that. Number 4, this one's a hard one, but here it is. They were ready to go when they went. We may not have been, but they were. Number 5, we're not ready to go. Number 6, they finally understand what they didn't understand here. Number 7, nothing can prepare you for the beauty of the moment you arrive. Number 8, don't try to understand this now, but life is exceedingly fair. Oh, where's my piece of paper? Number 9. Ah, yes, how could I not remember this one? Your pets are as crazy, brilliant, and loving here as they were there. And number 10, and number 10, and number 10, life really is all about love. I love you, and so it is.
Let us take a breath together as we just turn within in this moment. Just allowing ourselves to breathe our way into that place where God resides deep within each of us, knowing that we each reside deep within God, for there is no separation, can be no separation. As we take another breath together, we are just sinking into that place of oneness with the only thing that is, the only life, the only power, the only presence, the only mind, the only breath. I choose to call it God, but by any other name. It's the source of our being. And I know that this onlyness that is God, this isness that is God, is my very life. And I know that this onlyness and this isness is the life of each of us here this day. And so we just allow ourselves to feel into that oneness. We allow ourselves to be in that presence. We let go of all the stuff that would make us think we're separate. We let go of all the anxiety and the old stuff and the fear and the doubt. And we breathe. And we allow the love of God to fill us up, knowing that love is the only thing that is. We breathe it in. We take it in. as I speak this word for each of us this day, speaking a word of continued healing. And as we open up to this healing, we give up any attachment we may have to what healing looks like and what healing feels like. And we just allow the healing to happen in God's time, God's way. I speak a word of faith. I speak a word of courage. I speak a word of strength as we walk this journey together, knowing that we are each guided and directed every step of the way, and there's never a time that we walk it alone. For God has already gone before and made straight our way, guiding us and directing us, yet walking alongside us every step of the way. And so I know that this community is blessed. I know that this community is blessed, for it is filled with the presence of God, that healing, radiant presence of God. And so we can breathe easily knowing that the answers are already within us as we do remain in the question, as we do remain in the mystery. What needs to be known is known by that knower within us that knows all, sees all, is all. In this we rest. I speak a special word of blessing for Reverend Michele this morning as she just continues her healing journey, continues her questioning, continues as she continues, just relying on that God presence within her, being in that not know place, knowing that there's that knower within her that knows all, and continues to lift her up, support her, comfort her, love her, as it continues to love, support, and comfort each of us here in this community this day and always. We continue to bless Reverend Lonnie as he adjusts to his new surroundings, goes on to his greater yet to be. We just keep our hearts open, our minds open to that loving presence. And as I open this circle of prayer this morning, I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer this day. You may speak them silently or loud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I'm knowing that God is right where each of them is, blessing and keeping them. This word goes out to anyone on this planet, any situation or circumstance, anywhere in this country, knowing that in the midst of it all, God is. That's all we ever need to know. In the midst of where we are right now on our journey, God is. In the midst of pain, in the midst of whatever there may be, God is. God is. God is. For this awareness, I give great, great thanks. For this teaching that we have, I give great, great thanks. For God's ever-loving presence and everlasting arms, I give thanks. Thank you, Father, Mother God. Thank you, infinite presence. Thank you, divine Mother. I'll just allow it to be now. And so it is.